All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this morning for Weather Where You Are. If you are new here, we do this every morning at 11:30. Either myself, First Alert Meteorologist Courteney Jacobazzi, or First Alert Meteorologist Ella Dorsey. That's who you'll typically see here. But of course, we are going to be talking about this month so far, how warm it's been, and how unusually warm we are going to be, and exactly why. So I'm First Alert Meteorologist Courteney Jacobazzi. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. First, we're kind of going to take a look back. We'll do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll look forward and again talk about why we're having all this wonderful warm weather, especially if you're a warm weather fan like myself. Definitely enjoying this day. So we're going to talk about everything you need to know and give you a little bit of a science lesson in the weather department. Now, April 2024 so far, we've had 7 days above average and 7 days below average. So, of course, we had a fairly rainy and cool week a couple weeks ago, and now we are going the opposite direction. And so far, we've had 7 days above average, 7 days at or below average. And our average high temperature right now at 74 degrees. It started around 70, 71 degrees at the beginning of the month, and we'll continue to have that average high climb throughout the month. I believe by the end of the month, we'll be in the 77 to 78 degree range when it comes to those average high temperatures. So April's been a little bit of a mixed bag temperature-wise, but this week there is no denying it is going to be warm. Today's high, 86 degrees. That's what we have forecast for the city of Atlanta. Only 1 degree shy of the record set back in 1972 of 87 degrees. And again, our average high this time of year, 74 degrees. So we're going to be 12 degrees above average for our afternoon high today. And I hope you like numbers above average because we have a lot of those on the way as we head through the next 7. Now, when it comes to our first 90-degree day, we don't have that forecast over the next 7 days. But we are going to get close a couple of days, today being one of them, and then Thursday also going to get quite close to that 90-degree mark. And so I decided why not just let you know when we normally see that if anyone is anxiously awaiting 90s. Although I can tell you right now, when 90 degrees start popping up, that's usually when the humidity starts to return too. So I think we should be a little patient with that. But either way, our average first 90-degree day, that's on May 31st, so we still have a little over a month for that. And then our earliest first 90-degree day was on April 23rd, so a couple weeks from now. That was set back in 1980 when we had our earliest 90-degree day here in the city of Atlanta. Our latest first 90-degree day, and I was stunned when I figured this out, July 28th. Could you imagine making it all the way through the 4th of July holiday and not sweating like crazy and having a 90-degree day? How insane would that be? I feel like that would be a lucky thing to have almost, but our latest first 90-degree day, the end of July, that was back in 1961. So clearly that was a little bit of a cool year for us, considering we've had some years where we've hit 100 degrees in May across the state of Georgia. That was in 2019, by the way. I'm sure if any of you lived in the state of Georgia in 2019, you know good and well we all melted that year. So 90-degree day, latest July 28th. Don't necessarily see that considering we're already heading into quite a warm pattern so far. And just even looking ahead, it looks like an area of high pressure, which is the reason for our warm and dry weather lately. It looks like a lot of those are going to start to set up. If you can remember back to last year, and if not, I'll refresh your memory. We had this very strong high out in Texas that was just soldering the central portion of the United States, including the state of Texas. And we would get almost those impulses of showers and storms along it. We call it the Ring of Fire. We'll talk about that in another Weather Where You Are once we get into that setup. But essentially, same thing is parking itself over us, and that's going to give us the warm and dry weather. And this is a very strong area of high pressure, so it's going to keep a lot of the United States, or the eastern half of the United States, I should say, dry as we wait for some cold fronts that will bring the chance for severe weather to the plains, the northern plains, the Midwest. Thankfully, not going to be the case for us as we are going to stay underneath this. So what that area of high pressure does is kind of create a dome of protection for us. Think of it as a force field. Everything kind of works its way around it because underneath an area of high pressure, air sinks. So in order to get thunderstorms, in order to get rain, any kind of active weather, you need lifting in the atmosphere. That's what helps create the essential water cycle. Think about it. All the moisture in the air, it all rises. And when you don't have that ability for that rising motion, when you're underneath high pressure and everything's sinking, you don't get rain, you don't get any kind of thunderstorm activity. So we like these when we want the weather to be warm and dry, but when they park over you for too long, that's when it gets too hot and too dry. Thankfully, we don't have any kind of extreme on the way for us, but the way I like to think about it is this is the most visual way that I can explain high pressure and being under it when it comes to the term of temperature. So when you take your hands and you rub them together, what happens? They get warm, right? Well, underneath an area of high pressure, when all that sinking is happening, all the particles in the atmosphere and near the surface are starting to rub together and bounce together because they're getting compressed. So essentially, that's what happens underneath an area of high pressure. The best way to visualize it is when you rub your hands together and it gets warm. That's essentially what's happening as everything is getting pushed down and all those particles are bumping into each other and rubbing into each other. That helps promote that warming process that we get in the atmosphere when we get stuck underneath an area of high pressure. So there's your science lesson for the day. A lot of fun to do with kids when trying to explain this, but hey, we could all make it understand something and learn something in child's terms, right? It makes it a lot easier that way because weather is very complex. Either way, as we head into the end of the week and into the weekend, we'll have some of those cold fronts move in, and that's going to unfortunately change our weather pattern. So this beautiful, warm, 80 and sunny kind of forecast we're going to have, that's going to come to an end as we head into the end of the week and even more so into the weekend. And that will ultimately bring an end to our abnormally high temperatures and our drier stretch of weather. So you'll notice it tomorrow in the form of some cloud cover as well. So it's just something to think about. But showers and storms will be possible as we head into the weekend as that high breaks down and we're just not under the protection of, again, essentially that force field that the atmosphere offers us. So let's talk about the forecast as we do have those changes on the way. Now that we've given you your science lesson, you're going to see how that is really going to shine through as our forecast progresses. You'll see it slightly get cooler with the exception of Thursday. And you'll also notice that as soon as that force field backs off, we'll have those rain chances move in. So again, low to mid 80s today for afternoon highs. Overnight tonight, we also are going to stay quite mild. Temperatures in the upper 50s to low 60s to send you out the door tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow's high temperatures in the low 80s. The only reason it's cooler because we'll have some more cloud cover, so the sun won't be quite so direct. It's not going to allow everything to warm up quite as nicely, but still plenty warm for tomorrow afternoon. Now, as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, again, Tuesday, you'll notice the cloud cover. Wednesday, that first front moves through, but at this time, that area of high pressure is just starting to retreat off the coast. So we still have at least some influence of it. We still have that barrier over us just a little bit. So notice only in Alabama, Tennessee, and far northwest Georgia do we get that chance for showers, maybe a rumble of thunder. Thankfully, with that protection of that area of high pressure that's keeping us warm and dry, we won't have to worry about any of the severe weather that front will bring to our neighbors to the north and west. In places like Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, we won't experience any of that, thankfully. Now, as we head through the end of the week, you'll notice that we'll increase those rain chances Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll have some more moisture start to build in. Thursday, essentially what's going to happen, the reason we're warm then is because our wind will start to come out of the south. And when you have a southerly wind, you're under the influence of the Gulf of Mexico. Well, the Gulf of Mexico really never cooled down over the winter, which if you were with Ella on, I believe it was last Friday, she talked about that potentially very active hurricane season. That's part of the reason that they're thinking it's going to be so active is because that Gulf is still so warm. So when you're under the influence of the warm Gulf of Mexico, you have all that wind sucking in from the south, you're going to get that warmer day. So that's the reason for Thursday's warmer day, but also with that moisture pulling in from the Gulf, that will allow those higher rain chances as that front moves in over the weekend. No first alert weather days right now. Again, first alert weather days are a way of kind of telling you that, hey, heads up, there's some changing weather that's going to impact you. Right now, we don't have any of those on the 7-day forecast solely because models are just a little confused. They're a little conflicted on how much moisture we're going to have as that front moves through to work with. So we'll have a 50% coverage for Sunday right now. But of course, the timing, how much rain we're going to experience, all of that is still a little up in the air. But as soon as we start to get a better idea, which we should over the next day or two, we'll be able to give you that first alert weather day if we see fit. So here's a look at the forecast rainfall total through Sunday. North of the city, again, you'll be the first one rather to really lose influence of that high. So you'll lose protection from that high first, which will allow more moisture and more of that rain to enter in starting as early as Wednesday. So you're looking at totals upwards of 2 inches, but south of the city, we're looking at rainfall totals 1/2 inch to 1 inch in the city of Atlanta. Not worried about any kind of flash flooding. Again, this is over several days, but definitely introducing rain back in the forecast just in time for the weekend. I guess we can't complain because the weekend definitely doesn't look to be a washout, and we've had some really wonderful weekends lately, but it is springtime, so there's so much going on every single weekend as more festivals and things are happening. We have the Sweetwater 420 Festival this weekend among all the farmers markets, so I know a lot of you are keeping an eye on it, as are we, though, so we'll keep you posted on the forecast if it does continue to change, which as weather does, it more than likely will. Here's a look at your first alert 7-day forecast. So again, mid-80s today, that high super strong, that sinking air over us, that's creating what we call compressional warming, giving us this almost record-breaking temperature day. Again, the record high for today, 87 degrees. 83 tomorrow. You'll notice mostly cloudy skies tomorrow as well, so not necessarily the most bright sunshiny day, but still plenty warm, really comfortable. And then Wednesday, we'll have a front approach, but it's only going to bring a chance for showers mainly in northwest Georgia. We'll warm right back up Thursday as that southerly flow enters in and we get under the influence of the very warm Gulf of Mexico. That will allow for, again, a warm day with a few clouds out there. And then Friday, a few thunderstorms are possible, and that continues into the weekend as some showers and a few storms arrive ahead and along a cold front with that 50% coverage on Sunday. Sunday's probably our best candidate for a first alert weather day because it does look like showers and storms will be the most likely on Sunday, but there's still some question with coverage and timing and how much we really think it's going to impact your day. So we will keep you posted on that as we make our way through the week. All right, everyone, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Weather Where You Are. I hope you learned a little bit of something today. And again, we do this every day at 11:30, so be sure to tune in every day. And I hope you make it a wonderful one. Enjoy the beautiful warm weather.